Things have been a wee bit shaky with us ever since she pretended to be out of the country for 2 months, and then when I filled our entire house with these giant crates of spaghetti strainers, that did not help. We are like 5 big fights away from a divorce, and I do not want this to be one of them.
Hey, hello, how do you do? Shady Doorags here. Since the beginning of their engagement, Diane and Mr. Peanut Butter have shown differences that proved to be incredibly toxic to their relationship. This led to many people thinking Diane's breakdown at the end of season 4 was an inevitability. I also believe that's what the show was intending with these two, until user Milking Cow Surprise posted how they wondered if Diane's reaction to the bell room was the straw that broke the camel's back. After reading that, I began to ask the question, could Diane's breakdown have been prevented? From what I've found, I believe that it could have, and it's very interesting given who could have prevented it and how. Season 4 starts with Mr. Peanut Butter up to his usual crazy antics, running for governor just for the lulz. Initially, Diane handles this really well, keeping her cool despite the ridiculousness of it all.
Looks like you two have everything worked out. Just please note that I am being supportive.
Noted!
However, as time progresses and the levels of absurdity continue to grow, Diane becomes desperate to cling to some sense of normality.
Yeah, never concede. Stick it out!
No.
Stay in the race!
Maybe we should get Katrina's 2 cents on this. Katrina?
Throughout the campaign, Diane tries to call Bojack, and we can see how her desperation to reach him grows along with her frustration. In the past, we talked about how anchors can keep perspectives in a certain location. Diane surrounds herself in the Hollywood lifestyle, one of which constantly frustrates her, but her escape from all of that, and in turn her anchor to a stable mentality, is Bojack. This is why she gets so angry at Bojack when he won't answer her messages. While Bojack does eventually come back to Hollywood, it takes him a huge amount of time to actually get in contact with Diane. Meanwhile, Diane's had to watch Mr. Peanut Butter create a stupidly expensive bill, turn an election into a ski race, deplatform a competent governor, and experience him fracking in her own backyard. All the while, her frustration is building and building. When the house collapses in Underground, this should have been the moment where Diane broke down and released all her frustration, and it almost becomes that, but it was prevented by someone else being at the party. Bojack. Bojack is someone Diane can complain to and whose state of mind is more logical than the rest of Hollywood. It can drive you up a wall when everyone around you is following a mentality you know is wrong. One of the reasons Diane finds comfort in Bojack is because he won't just go with whatever stupid thing Hollywood is into. He'll call it out, loudly and obnoxiously.
But, as the old saying goes, that's politics.
Then you'd probably say, A, that's not an old saying, and B, that's not politics. Nothing about that is politics.
And in doing so, Bojack reminds Diane that she's not crazy for thinking the way she does. He reminds her that sane people actually do exist. Diane feels that she needs Bojack in her life in order for it to make sense.
Bojack, I can't wait for you to be better. I need you in my life, and you're the only thing that makes sense to me.
Bojack is basically a stress ball that Diane can take her frustration out on. He's also a way for her to see things from a different perspective, reminding her that she's not entirely correct either.
And I'm gonna die in this mansion in a mass grave with his ex-wives.
Okay, but on the bright side, look, Mr. Peanut Butter loves you. You got a cool job. You got friends.
You're right. Even when I was above ground, I wasn't satisfied.
And what happens after Diane has had a nice long chat with Bojack?
Hi.
You're the best thing that ever happened to me. I don't tell you that enough.
Having found a way to relieve her stress, Diane can see that she does love Mr. Peanut Butter. She was just overwhelmed by his antics. Now you might think that after this moment, everything would go back to normal and Diane would keep loving Mr. Peanut Butter and distressing on Bojack. But here's the thing. Let's say your favorite food is peanut butter sandwiches, but then you're forced to eat nothing but peanut butter sandwiches. After a while, you get sick of the taste of peanut butter sandwiches and you desperately want to eat something other than peanut butter sandwiches. Finally, you get something else to eat that isn't peanut butter sandwiches. You realize that you don't hate peanut butter sandwiches, you just wanted some variety. Now, most people in this situation would wait a while before even attempting to try another peanut butter sandwich. But imagine if you had to dive right back into eating peanut butter sandwiches. Sure, you could eat other food too, but you were still required to eat peanut butter sandwiches most of the time. This is what Diane had to go through. Yes, after Bojack returned, she had a way to relieve stress, But she still had to go right back to dealing with Mr. Peanut Butter's antics after having just come off of one of his most crazy ideas. What does Mr. Peanut Butter do immediately after dropping out of the campaign race? He fills their hotel room with clown dentists and dentist clowns. So when Diane is given the bell room, it was indeed the straw that broke the camel's back. She just couldn't eat any more peanut butter sandwiches. If Bojack had talked to Diane sooner, she wouldn't have felt so overwhelmed by all the shenanigans she had to go through, and the bell room would have just been another thing she had to deal with. Am I saying the fight is Bojack's fault? No. There's no way Bojack could have known what would have happened between Diane and Mr. Peanut Butter, and even if he did...
You're responsible for your own happiness, you know?
I just find it very ironic. Bojack initially wanted to sabotage Mr. Peanut Butter and Diane's relationship, and he tried to by spending lots of time with them, but wound up making them closer instead. Now, because he refused to spend any time with them, he winds up being the factor that causes the two to have a massive fight, probably leading up to their divorce. If Bojack could have predicted the fight Diane and Mr. Peanut Butter were going to have, and he wanted to prevent it, all he had to do was pick up the phone. This has been Shady Doorags. So long, farewell, have you to say goodbye.
Hey, Bojack. It's me again. Haven't heard from you in like 3 months. So I'm calling again. Hey, Bojack, it's me again. Voicemail number 17. Not having you around. Things are even crazier around here. Again, where are you? I'm worried. Hope you're not dead, etc. You get because of a new bill that cost our state billions of dollars. It's all so great! You know, it's funny because the last time I saw you, you told me that you needed me in your life. And then you just disappeared. So how do you think that makes me feel? This is Diane, by the way. Nguyen, obviously.